how to integrate Calendly with ActiveCampaign automation using Zapier. Hi, this is Anil Agrawal from marketingautomationfocus.com. So let's dive right into it. How do you integrate Calendly with ActiveCampaign to do your automations? Since Calendly does not integrate directly with ActiveCampaign, or the other way around, there is no direct integration. So one of the choices, at least one, or probably the best solution, is to use Zapier. Now, how do you do that? So let's look at this. First, in order to get the custom fields, or I should say, in order to get the properties of Calendly appointments, or they call it events, you would need to first create custom fields inside ActiveCampaign. So you see over here, I'm inside my ActiveCampaign account. And the first thing you would do is you go to any contact, it doesn't matter which contact, some contact, and there you find this add field button. Use this add field button and add your custom fields. So in order to get dates like start time and end time, you want to select the date type for the field. If you are going to map the name of the event, Calendly event name, then it needs to be text input or any other property, like for example, the type category. So Calendly is confusing that Calendly calls their appointment types like one-on-one versus group, they call it type. And then they actually call the events within any group or category, sorry, not group, but a type, also an event type. So it gets very confusing if you're doing it or handling it for the first time. So you just need to make sure that depending on what type or category that you set up your Calendly appointments, and you can have multiple appointments. For example, they call it events. So for example, you have a 30-minute call or 60-minute call, and these are all one-on-one. So you would choose inside Calendly, you will choose the one-on-one type, and then you would create multiple events like 30-minute call, 60-minute call. And I would suggest that you be consistent in naming of those events. They call it event type name. So I guess that's why it gets confusing. So your event name type, or I should say event type, see, it gets confusing. So event type name obviously is text input, so you would create a text type field. So anyways, what I've done here is I've already created some. Now you see over here Calendly event time, and let's see here, it's actually what I call them Calendly end time. So I know already that this is event type that I'm dealing with, so I just be consistent. And the reason I'm using, you don't have to use Calendly as part of the name inside your custom field name, because I do consulting, and for example, you see over here Acuity or Acuity, I don't know how you call it, Acuity over here, Calendly. So that's why I'm using Calendly, but you don't have to, and you could just say event end time or event start time. So you can see I just had a sample data over here, and Calendly event type I just had mapped one-on-one. So you're just seeing the data after I ran a Zapier test run, and that's why you see all the data here. But in the beginning, you would create custom fields, whichever ones you want, that you want to map to and use in your automation inside ActiveCampaign. So make sure that you create appropriate custom fields, all of them, whether they're text type or date type, okay? And then let's go over to my Zapier account where I've created a Zap for Calendly and working with the ActiveCampaign. So let's go there. So here I am in my Zapier account. I've already created this test Calendly appointments type Zap here, and I've chosen the trigger app is my Calendly app, and invitee created. So the way Calendly works, they use invitee. It's your preference, but that's how it is. I kind of prefer client created or something, so invitee can be confusing. But anyways, so you pick out of the only two options available here. So you see any and all of the appointments that are created in Calendly, they will all get they will all trigger the Zap. So that's probably not that good, but it's okay for now. So there are a couple of things you could do. Over here, just to show you, I've used the filter, okay? Filter element in Zapier. Now, if you don't want to use filter, there are other ways, like you could use the custom field of the name of that event to trigger or not trigger your automation. So once you have the custom field, then you can choose that to use for your trigger in your automation in ActiveCampaign. So in this case, I just wanted to show you here that event type name. So you'll see all of this information when you click on it, and I just picked event type name, and it has to be exact phrase. So if you're calling it 30-minute call, 60-minute call, whatever that phrase is, the name of that Calendly event, you gotta paste without any spaces before or after, exactly the same phrase. With, as far as I know, it needs to be exact phrase. You can't substitute uppercase with lowercase, I think. So I would rather be consistent. So I just copy and paste very carefully, double check for the spaces, and that's how I would filter. So this would trigger only continue if it matches the event type name. Now in this case, I'm also certified in drip, so that's why I'm just using this as an example that I had in Calendly already. So that's the drip consultation 30-minute call. That's the name, and it will only continue if that's what the event happened, i.e. invitee created that particular appointment with that name. So then just to show you here, if you use add contact to automation app, so there are two choices, or at least two choices that are useful for us for this video, this demonstration. That there are two choices: add contact to automation, which you would think that that's the one you want, but it has very limited, as far as I can tell. There's nothing else here, so I can't map any of the custom fields in ActiveCampaign or any properties of my Calendly event. So at first, actually, it threw me off, and so I just kept it there just to show you. But really, this should really be deleted, and you only need to use this type, create, update, contact. Okay, because when you go to that one, then let's look at that template. So see, the list is required. So figure out what list you need to put these people or subscribers or invitees, and choose that list. And then email is required. So select the email out of. So then in this case, it will give you all the options, and you gotta choose the right option. And what I also noticed, as far as I can tell, that I haven't done a real, actually future date appointment test yet. So I don't know if you didn't choose first name and last name here. I think, as far as I can tell, if you don't do this, it will not map or give you the data inside ActiveCampaign. maybe that's not the case, but I'd rather be safe here, so I just mapped out. You could also do full name. I would probably do that. Just I think then Zapier Zap actually does not give you that data at all. It's just the way the integration works. So and then you could, if you had Calendly as part of the Calendly appointment or event questions, they call it questions. If you had that question as phone number, then you would pick that field and you would map that to over here. Now let me skip this tags, organization name, all this stuff. But now you will see a bunch of pretty much all of the custom fields. It's kind of annoying in a way because let's say if I had 100 custom fields, it seems like that this will show me all 100 custom fields here. So which I really don't need, and it's kind of annoying in a sense. So, but as you can see, I have Calendly start date. I was just playing with it, but really I wanted to use the same language as I think they call it, like you can see here, event end time and event start time. So that's how Calendly names their properties of that event. So I just call that inside ActiveCampaign when I created those custom fields. So once you do this, then your all the data from your Calendly will show up. And hang on a second over here. So I think there was a name of maybe I haven't chosen here, but for example, Calendly event name right here, I have done that. So they call it event type names. You see that type thing is confusing to me. So anyways, once you know, then you know what you're doing, and Calendly event name will be event type name. So now once you know what that name is, whether 30-minute call or 60-minute call, that you can actually then, and just to show you how it's done is that you'll just drop down and it'll show you different options here, but obviously relevant is this invitee created, and then you choose the properties of that event that was created, okay? Or in general, it's just when anybody creates an appointment, you get all those properties available to you that you can map out. So this is how you map things out, all right? So now I think that's pretty much it, but let me go back to, one more thing here is under tags, you don't have to choose an existing tag. You could, it will pull the existing tags out of your ActiveCampaign account, but you could simply type. You can just simply type, I could type 30-minute call or whatever the event name is if you want to use tag for your automation or whatever, and it'll just simply actually create this tag, okay? Now Zapier is just telling me it's smart because if you change something, they are playing safe and they turn off the Zap because I had turned it on. So let's go back to our ActiveCampaign, and I'll show you automation. It's just a quick automation that I created. So here I'm back into ActiveCampaign, and I created this test Calendly automation here. I was just playing with, what would I use for trigger, and in this case, because I'm using create or update contacts, so it's not gonna that Zap is not gonna start an automation unless I use an appropriate trigger. So in this case, I just use client created appointment. You could use a specific tag or whichever works for you. And then I was just playing with, you don't really have to use this wait until Calendly start time is current date. So what I was doing was that I'm choosing the Calendly start time as the data for the date that the appointment is made, and so the subscribers will just simply wait until that date arrives. And so, but you could use the same thing as a goal. I think goal is better, so I would delete this. Okay, and under goal, what I did, I named it. Somebody wanted to know, well, if I want to send an email at 5 a.m. fixed. So typically the reminders based on relative time prior to or at that time, or maybe also 5 minutes after. I guess if you really wanted to set that up, that is preferred if it comes from the appointment app like Calendly. So I would still recommend using the reminders from Calendly. But in this case, if you really want to do or send an email, a specific email, and all you care about is, in addition to all the reminders, that you want to send an email from ActiveCampaign at a specific time. So what I did, that the goal will not be met until the Calendly start time is current date. And that's exactly, so whatever the current date is, right? So as soon as the current date arrives, which is the same as Calendly start time, and then it will wait. So let's say midnight comes, so it becomes the current date for the Calendly start time, and then the current time until it reaches 5 a.m., it would not trigger the goal. Then what I was testing with Acuity or Acuity. I can't pronounce, I guess, that word. Start time, and the same thing. I was setting this up just to test things out. So those two conditions together with an and should meet. So one or the other, because I was just doing testing. But and if you're using Calendly, then you don't need this other second condition. So this way you would reach the goal. So I would not have the wait. I would just simply have the goal with that one condition for the date and the time. And as soon as that happens, then it will meet the goal, and they will move down the path, and then you can set up an email to be sent. So that's all for now. I hope this helps, and until next time, bye bye now.